Welcome back to UKSG BLUE 2025. We are here in Glasgow raising money for Crisis, and as you notice on the donation tracker on stream right now, we have reached leaked. Coming up, well, now we've got Rayman, but not the Rayman you've probably played. This is Rayman on the Game Boy Color with Amoeba UK. Off you go.
Thank you very much. We'll get straight into it then if we're ready on the timer. So 3, 2, 1, go. So yeah, this is Rayman for the Game Boy Color, and I apologise, my Rayman lore is not up to snuff because it's literally the only Rayman game I've ever played. So, leading with an apology on that one. This was a game I played as a kid and absolutely loved. Let's see if we can get a super jump back up here. No. So this cycle on the very first level sucks. It's supposed to be an easy introduction level to the run. And unfortunately there's like an early cycle that's really, really difficult to hit. This game's really weird. I mean, it's very pretty for a Game Boy game, but in a sense it makes the Game Boy really struggle. It actually like lags in quite a lot of places. So there's going to be certain like lag reduction strats that I'm doing. I'll try and point out points where it's like clearly struggling. The physics engine for this game is also very strange, as I just clipped through that block. Rayman loves to grab ledges. Really, like if you're even remotely close to a ledge, he'll grab it rather than landing on the platform. And you're also like completely actionable from ledges and vines instantly. So if I'm good at the game, hopefully I'll jump off them straight away. So here's a good example. So this vine here, I can basically try and jump off it immediately and not slow down at all. This is the first auto-scroller, so if the host has anything, this is a great opportunity because I'm not going to be doing too much exciting.
Yeah, we've got a few donations here. We've got one from TB Sliver who says, as promised, £1 per death. They've given £28. Well done, dear. We've got £10 from Ame Sakura that says, pet all the corgis, and I'm imagining that's going towards the pet all the corgis incentive. And then lastly, we've got £25 from Clark. Good luck, Meebs. I'm sorry for not dragging you around Glasgow.
Thanks, Claire. Yeah, so this game's had a bit of a revival. I say a bit of a revival, I'm like the only person that actually runs it. It's had a task produced earlier this year, only a few months ago, and I want to give a big shout out to Super Squank, who is the task author for this game. The task is amazing, and it's also brought to light a number of strats we can use for RTA as well. So this game's a weird mix of sort of skips that I've found and strats that have come to light through the task and that Squank has found. The game sort of doesn't get broken apart until we get to the helicopter power, which is in the 3rd level. But once we get there, everything starts to go a bit crazy. Fun fact about auto-scrollers, so if I stand on this platform here and then get pushed through the ceiling will push me through the platform, and similarly the auto-scroll stops as soon as I touch this final platform. It's possible to land on this final platform too early and soft-lock yourself out of the entire level. Because the ceiling stops scrolling, but you can't actually jump past the ceiling yet. A bit of a sequence break there. We jump on that platform as we knock it down. And then another sequence break here. If I hug this wall as I fall down on the right, we just have enough distance here to hit that platform. So I was trying to show off earlier as well, there's a super jump that you can do. If you jump for a single frame on the frame that you land, so it's frame perfect sort of twice, you can get slightly more height with a jump for Rayman. It looks kind of funky, and it's basically useless. For RTA at least. The task does use it in a couple of spots in conjunction with some other glitches, but it's sort of useless for us RTA wise. It's really only applicable before we get the helicopter power. Another thing as well, these little blue enemies, and to be honest nearly every enemy in the game, when you kill them, ouch, they have a death animation. Their hurt box still exists during the death animation, so generally it's never worth killing those enemies. You can still get hit once they're dead. World 2 is great because we get these slippy platforms with loads of momentum. If coming up in, I think it's the 3rd level in this world, there's a section right at the start where if I'm like really, really good and jump frame perfectly, I can conserve this momentum through non-slippy platforms. A bit of a skip coming here if I can get it. Not quite, but there's an easy backup. This skips about half this level, you can just clip through with a damage boost. Yeah, if we can conserve that momentum, I might be able to like jump across the entirety of the start of a level if I'm good. Fingers crossed. A little bit of a sequence break here. It's not really a clip through, the developers just forgot to put collision in that section. Pretty small skip all in all. And then there's a little bit coming up after this where there's a secret area that you're supposed to use momentum to get to. So right here, you're supposed to use this momentum and get up here. And it's supposed to take you to a secret cage. If we actually turn around and conserve this momentum again, we can jump up through this platform and get to the goal from underneath. That's clearly not intentional. And then this is where I put real pressure on myself because there's some frame perfect jumps here that look really cool if I can get them. There's one. Only one. Okay, you can get like up to 3 there. You can jump off the cloud again, frame perfectly, and then a platform again, frame perfectly. One's alright now. It's a little scary with low health, because now I'm 1 hit from death. A bit of a break there just by conserving momentum over that section. Not too scary though, there's a heart here that we're going to grab. And then coming up just after this cloud is the first section where it's effectively lag reduction. There's 3 sprites on screen here, so we're going to kill these guys quickly, because once it has all 3 on screen, the Game Boy just slows down to a crawl. It hates having multiple sprites on screen. That's probably the most obvious example early on. Bit of a damage boost here. This activates a secret platform by touching an invisible trigger there. This is an intentional skip in that you're supposed to go around later in the level to find a secret area and then come back via that section, and then the platform saves you having to redo the first half of the level. Because we know it's there, we can just skip the first half of the level by going backwards. These trumpets suck. I hate these trumpets. Really easy to mess those up and fall all the way back down. And it's also really easy to get to this one too early and hit that spike, or too late and almost get hit by that spike. Good dodge. So we're getting to the end of World 2 now, and then we're going to unlock the helicopter power, and that's when... Hey, I got that jump as well, that's really nice. This is where the game really starts to get broken. Now that we have the helicopter power, I unlock what's known as a glitchy double jump. So one of the weird quirks of this game engine is as you fall off the edge of a ledge, you can jump after you've fallen off. I'll try and give an example here. So Rayman kind of started to hit the, started to do his falling animation as if I was falling off, and then you can cancel it with a jump. If we cancel one of those jumps within the first half of that animation, we then store a glitchy double jump, which then means if we use the helicopter in the air, cancel it, and then re-jump within 4 frames, we get a second jump just in mid-air. It looks like we've jumped off of nothing. I've never hit that guy that way before. And he got me again. Are you kidding me? My guy. We have to wait for that guy. There's no faster way. If I hit him, I still have to wait for him to die. So it's just faster to wait for him overall. We're going to go for the first glitchy double jump here. So there we go. I literally jumped out of the middle of thin air, and that's because I fell off the edge of the platform before it, and then cancelled that fall with a jump. That's the trick that the TAS brought to light. I want to say discovered, but actually apparently it was known for a long time amongst the TAS community. And just in one of those lack of communication things, it hadn't ever really crossed over to a fairly small RTA community. But yeah, the realisation that we can actually do those glitchy double jumps RTA has really broken this game quite significantly. Second auto-scroller of the game. Oh, get up there please, thank you. So it's actually faster to just walk along the bottom there to the right because it activates the water quicker before jumping up. That might have looked like I was wasting time, but it really didn't. This is the only auto-scroller where we want to sort of do lag reduction again. These sprites, we want to get them off screen as quickly as possible. The game, it's not super noticeable, but does slow down slightly with them on. And then this is a good example of how Rayman really loves to jump to ledges, and how you can just utilise that however you want. You don't really have to get that close to a ledge, and Rayman absolutely loves to grab them. So this is, to be honest, I talked about how the glitchy double jumps really broke in this game, and it hasn't really touched this world too much. There's a couple of minor skips. The next world, it's enormous. It would be a really long level, easily the longest level in the run. We're going to skip 3 out of 4 levels, basically, using, well, one of them uses the glitchy double jump, one of them with a float skip that I found, and then one with a clip that I found as well. It's going to sound like I'm bragging sometimes in this game. When I say I found these, it's because like I'm one of like maybe 2 or 3 runners that have taken this run fairly seriously. First level's relatively straightforward. We're actually not going to skip too much here. There's not a lot of potential. So I am going to talk about the skip that we're going to set up in the next level. Right at the start of the next level, there's a platform that when you stand on it activates. That sucks. Activates and starts moving up or down. And the idea of the setup that I'm going to do is going to land on that platform, hopefully for 1 frame, activate the platform, and the game's going to give Rayman the properties as if he stood on that platform. So while the platform's rising, the game's going to tell Ray... I've never missed that. I just didn't grab the ledge at all. There's the platform. There it is. So yeah, the game's going to give Rayman the properties of the platform to like rise and fall as well, so that Rayman would move properly if he was stood on it. By standing on it for only 1 frame, we don't give the game enough opportunity to remove those properties once he's come off the platform. So Rayman will constantly try and rise in the air. It's going to look sort of like I'm bobbling on the ground for a little bit. And then I'm going to grab a ledge. I have to move very carefully because if I actually jump, I'll cancel the properties. So I have to hover to a ledge carefully. But once I grab the ledge, the upwards movement property is still going to activate. So I'm still going to rise up in the air. But I'm also not going to have any collision because I've grabbed the ledge. So this is where that trick's coming in. This is the most significant skip in the run. So that's the property. So I'm constantly rising, and if I grab the ledge, no hands. I just float through everything. This level, beating it normally should normally take 3 minutes. Thank you very much. That saves quite literally 3 minutes. That is one of the longest levels in the game. There is a second application of that strat. The TAS actually does, I think, 4. 2 of those are like TAS only. They're ridiculous, but we're going to go for another one later on. It's quite hard, though. I can't promise that I'm actually going to get it. Weird clip there where we can grab 2 separate portions of that ledge and fall through. That was a clip that I found recently-ish. And that skips the majority of this helicopter level. There's a couple of levels in this game where they just give you infinite helicopter powers. Oh, also, check out this lag. When this sprite loads, the game slows to a crawl. For some reason, this one sprite slows the game down massively. And then this is quite a long level as well, and then the introduction of the TAS basically broke this entirely. So you're supposed to go all the way around this level and unlock a secret platform here that takes you to the end of the run. With a glitchy double jump, we can just get there immediately. And that's it, that's that entire level. So yeah, that was basically premiered in the TAS, discovered by Super Squank. So now we move on to, is this Ancient Forest or Arcane Forest? I can never remember. It's one of them. Like I said, not hot on my Rayman lore. But this is, there's no massive skips in this level, but there's lots and lots of little ones, so it's a really finicky technical level to do. So there was a glitchy double jump there, but that only saves about 5-6 seconds. A weird damage boost here, so you're supposed to take that platform above, but it's just faster to boost through it. Thanks, trumpets. A very minor skip here, you're supposed to ride this hoop down, but with a well-timed hover. Yeah. Just skip that. Very little skip here, we don't need to grab that third one, as long as we know that that one exists. And then right at the end of this level, we're going to do, I think it's 4 glitchy double jumps back to back to back. This is really finicky. There's 1. I think it's 3 actually, so I lied slightly. 2 and 3. Okay, that was pretty good for a live off-the-cuff attempt. Quite happy with that. So this is where like the difficulty of the game started to ramp up, because those glitchy double jumps aren't the easiest thing, and that's a lot of them to do in a row. Another glitchy double jump here, didn't get it, that's a shame. There we go. And this is where sort of the game has untapped potential, because you could effectively introduce tons of glitchy double jumps, but at the point where it's saving maybe a second or 2, it probably doesn't start to be worth it. Or at least you've got to be confident that you can do them properly. So I am interested to see if other people can be better at this than I am. A small clip here, discovered in the TAS. Saved maybe a second or 2, but it's quite cool looking. And then there's going to be a couple of glitchy double jumps coming up at the end of this level. I don't know why that trumpet's there, you don't really need it. I guess you're not supposed to damage boost through, but hey. Oh, that's a shame. See, that's what I mean by Rayman loving to grab ledges. One more here. Oh. Fairly easy backup if we don't get that first one. And then the final one, final level of Arcane Forest. This again has some glitchy double jumps that aren't required, but do save some time. That was one of them that I didn't get, unfortunately. Okay. Am I going to get that? I didn't get that. Okay. That was a really cool backup that I've never done before. I didn't get it again. I love this section of the game. Let's play it 3 times. But again, that's just part of that level being really finicky. All these levels in general. It's really easy to blow a lot of time. That was scary. You're really supposed to get that guy, because he can knock you straight into the abyss. Little skip here if we can hit him as we fall down. And I do have to wait here slightly just to make this cycle. My health is a little sketchy here, so I'm going to grab a heart in a minute at the end of this level. We want to jump over this and catch this on the way back, because it pulls the plum towards you. And also, these plums can get, the physics on them can get really wonky when they're actually falling down. You can very easily slow them down despite hitting them. They're just a little bit strange sometimes. That's the end of Arcane Forest. We're going to go to Fiery Depths now, and this is easily the hardest level of the run. So there's a skip here. I'm going to intentionally take a couple of hits of damage. And then the idea is, so we're going to hit this guy, and then I'm going to ascend this spike wall on the right hand side and take damage the whole way. And I want to get to that spot, and as long as I get there, I activate the checkpoint trigger for that, the second half of the level. And then this is the extremely difficult trick that the TAS author believes is TAS only, so I'm going to give this maybe 2 goes. Basically the same principle as the rising trick earlier in the run. I got it first try! So yeah, the TAS author basically created an RTA guide for this and said, oh, that's like maybe good for ILs, but it's never going to be used in an RTA run. So I'm so happy I hit that. It's basically the same principle as the rising glitch from earlier, except the parameters for hitting that are a lot more stringent because you don't have an easy setup like we did for the platform in Rocky Peaks. And you've also got like death spikes all the way around. I really wasn't hitting that in practice. I'm so happy I got that first try. Wow. Which means I'm definitely going to screw up the end of this level, which is quite hard. So nothing too significant in the early part of this level. A couple of small glitchy double jump skips. And then, a bit like Arcane Forest, we're going to do something like 3 or 4 in a row here. So I'm trying to fall off the edge of here so that I can actually get the glitchy double jump loaded. This is what I mean about them being finicky. You can easily waste a lot of time. And then I've got to reset this one up again. This is really giving me an issue. I swear there's a purpose to this. There we go. That's not that difficult, I just made that look terrible. And then we've got to do one through a damage boost here. Not quite. There we go. So that's not too bad. I only really get like 2, maybe 3 attempts at that before I die, because you've got to be damaged to not get knocked back by the spikes in the ceiling. And we're sort of grabbing onto collision that we're not supposed to grab on through the spikes. This is the last auto-scroller of the run. There's actually not that much to say at this point. This is... auto-scrollers are sort of like the last significant time wasters, I guess. Like, there's potential somewhere potentially to skip these over, but we haven't found anything yet. This is a good opportunity if we've got anything from the hosts, by the way.
Yeah, I'd quickly just like to shout out the 80% upgrade to Corgi percent. We are just under halfway through that incentive at £424. We've got just over an hour before that run is on. So if we can get that met, we will get to pet many doggos. Back to our runner.
yeah, please donate towards. There's a lot of incentives still on there. My opportunity to plug this now. Not a lot happening with these auto scrollers. It's really easy to die on these, so it looks like I'm like hitting them as soon as I can, and that's sort of intentional. They sort of waste a lot of time when you're swinging on them, so I actually want to get on them as quickly as possible. So the next level is the last helicopter power level. This level was really long. Hello, please grab the ledge, thank you. And it also sort of sucked. It was really finicky and really easy to lose a lot of time. Let's hit the ball. There we go. Oh, I'm actually gonna have to die here. As sad as that is. I need 1 heart to do a skip on this level. Normally, well, ideally you'd want to do the skip earlier and get through with 3 hearts so that you can just damage boost through this and make it easily. Not the end of the world. But yeah, this level really kind of sucked for a long time, and then you just float through that wall. And it's literally right next to the exit. It's a ridiculously easy skip. And that's going to take us into the last platforming level of the game. This is either Arcane or Ancient Forest, I can't remember which one. When I mixed up the ones earlier, I mixed it up with this. A little pause here just to wait for these enemy cycles. So this is quite a finicky set of levels as well, but also quite fun. So little optimizations like that to float quite early so that we land on that platform as early as possible. There's lots of weird situations in these levels like this, these fast platforms. We can actually potentially maintain some of the speed, so I didn't quite get it there, I got too greedy. But you can maintain some of that speed onto the slippy platforms below. The TAS does a really cool super jump into glitchy double jump off of this platform to the left to get to the goal, which is just above us. It's a bit finicky. I've never been able to pull it off RTA, so unfortunately we're not going to be that cool today. There's also a lot of these enemies that are placed right at the ceiling, and they're just really annoying. Like I say, you really don't want to hit them because then the death animation is still has a hurt box. A bit of a skip here with a glitchy double jump. That was kind of scary because I had no spare health there, so I'm glad I got that. Not a massive save, but cool to get. And then there's going to be a couple of finicky little optimizations, I guess, towards the end of this level as well. Actually not too much in this section. I feel like I'm not saying something for the first time. I have yapped this entire run. So this section coming up, we're actually supposed to catch something like 4 hoops along the way. We're going to hold most of this speed and skip the first 3. I do have to slow down slightly to hit that one. If you hit it at full speed, the game thinks that you're came from the other way and swings you left to right, and then the hoop falls and you die. And then we have to do this section completely as intended because it's really spaced quite difficultly. I think the developers made this intentionally as difficult as possible. We barely have enough spare room to actually get to that hoop. Also a slight interesting property of hoops, it's slightly faster to swing out like that and re-grab. Another enemy... This guy sucks. Another enemy right at the ceiling, so it's basically impossible to jump over him unless you're timing it really well. Dart Rayman level. If Dart Rayman touches you, you die instantly, and there's no checkpoints in this level, so getting caught right at the end of the level is a massive time loss if it happens. And with recent optimizations, so there was a glitchy double jump right at the start, and we're also going to do one literally right at the end, and it can become like real panic stations if I miss it, because you're quite likely to get hit by Dart Rayman and die. It is possible for him to die. I don't really know how, because he's supposed to just copy your movements exactly. I've seen him die in like 2 runs ever. I don't really understand how it happens. So you are supposed to come back round underneath these platforms and activate a secret section to activate a platform right at the end of the level. Oh, so that was quite scary. I didn't expect a ledge grab there. So we're just going to go around a bit. I didn't get the glitchy double jump either. Ah, there we go. So, panicked myself a little bit there. No, please don't clap that. And then this level is shockingly easy. So the gimmick for this is that Mr. Dark has swapped your directions, or it's a mirror world or something, so I'm holding left the entire time here, but that's literally it, and I think the developers thought that this was going to be a lot harder than it actually is. So they made this level quite easy, I think, to count for that, so there's really not much to die to here. And it's also a very short level for an endgame level, because we're basically at the end now. There's an invisible trigger for that third platform that you have to go quite deep on the second platform to actually activate. And then we're actually coming into the Mr. Dart fight here now. So this has 3 cycles and you have to hit him 3 times. I want to climb these as quickly as possible when he's in this like orb mode thing, because the quicker you get up there, the quicker he floats away. We just have to dodge these attacks. So the first one is these fireballs. Sometimes this can be terrifying because you can get into Mr. Dart with like 1 health. And then again, I want to jump to get him to disappear as quickly. And then these orb spawns are random. The movement patterns that are possible are all sort of set. So once I know... Oh, I don't know where he is. I didn't get him. Where you going, buddy? Where you going, buddy? He's giving me the juice. There we go. So you have to hit him 3 times for each cycle. So there's only a set number of patterns he can do, but which one he does is completely random. Ideally, you just want him to spawn in the top right and float down to the left. It's like one of the top right spawns are really, really quick. The attacks that he sends out are sort of trivial to dodge. So yeah, this is... There we go, I'm supposed to jump. As a heads up to the host, the time's going to be pretty shortly. It's going to be on the next cycle of attacks from Mr. Dark. Oh man, where are you going? Where are you going? So this is sort of a sucky bit of the run because RNG can really cost you a lot of time. These patterns are terrible. There we go. So this is his 3rd set of attacks, and these are just lightning bolts. This is the easiest one to dodge, and it's a really weird section because he's going to do something like 17 of these, and you just have to jump and hover. This is the most disappointing part of this. I'm just pressing A. Right. Are we having fun, guys? But yeah, time is going to be on the 3rd hit once Mr. Dark comes down in orb form. I'm going to ponder his orb. But yeah, this goes on for... I don't know why they thought that this was difficult enough to do 17 of them or whatever. The lightning bolts just go on forever. There we go. So hopefully we get 3 hits here. If I miss enough cycles, he will go back and do attacks. Wow, we're getting some good spawns this time. Where is he? Any time now? Any time now? Time. And that is Rayman at Game Boy Color. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks to the UKSG guys. I appreciate finally being able to come and do this run. I think I was scheduled to come and do this run like back in 2019 or something, and my car broke down on the way here, so it's a pleasure to come back and, or to at least be able to come here and actually do this run. And if anybody's interested in this, please reach out to me. I'd love to see more runners. But thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much, Amoeba UK. And just quickly, at the end of that run, we did have a £25 donation from Citrus Streams that reads, "Me and my spouse are loving this Rayman speedrun. It's our first time watching this event and have been glued to the stream. Thanks for all the hard work for the event." And with that, we are going to jump quickly into an intermission as we get set up for Cuphead with Tails.